Sometimes, the most powerful help doesn't come from money, luxury, or power. It comes from the least expected soul in the darkest corner. Imagine this: a billionaire, a man who had everything the world could offer, stood helpless in the middle of his own life, tears in his eyes, unable to solve a problem money couldn't fix. And then, from the shadows of the street, a homeless man, someone society often ignored, stepped forward with just 3 simple words: "I can fix it." What happened next will leave you breathless, so stay with me until the end, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that will move your heart and open your eyes. Ethan Kross was a name everyone in the city knew. His face was on magazine covers, his companies were worth billions, and his skyscrapers pierced the sky as symbols of success. But behind the polished smile and the glass walls of his empire, Ethan carried a hollow silence. His only son, Daniel, had grown distant, and no amount of wealth could bridge the gap. It wasn't business failures that haunted him, it was the look in his son's eyes, cold, tired, and heavy with resentment. Ethan often sat in his penthouse at night staring out at the city lights, wondering how a man who could build empires couldn't keep his family from falling apart. One night, after another bitter argument with Daniel, Ethan left his mansion in frustration. He didn't take his car, didn't call his driver, he just walked, his expensive shoes echoing on the pavement. His tailored suit and silk tie looked out of place as he wandered through the quieter, darker corners of the city. That's when he stumbled into a small park, empty except for a figure curled up on a bench, wrapped in an old coat. The man looked up when he heard footsteps, his face rugged, with a beard that carried weeks of neglect, eyes tired yet strangely alive. Ethan sat on the opposite bench, burying his face in his hands. He whispered to himself, unaware he was being heard. "I don't know what to do anymore. I can buy the world, but I can't fix my own son. I can't fix us." His voice cracked, a sound Ethan Kross would never allow in a boardroom but couldn't contain under the stars. The homeless man tilted his head, studying him with quiet curiosity. Then, after a moment, he spoke. "I can fix it." Ethan looked up sharply, startled. For a second, he almost laughed. What could a homeless man fix for him, the billionaire whose problems went beyond money? But the way the man said it wasn't mockery, it was calm, certain, and strangely comforting. "You?" Ethan asked, disbelief heavy in his tone. The man nodded. "I can't give you riches or power. But sometimes fixing isn't about replacing what's broken. It's about seeing what's still there." He shifted his coat closer around him. "Tell me what's wrong. Sometimes strangers listen better than family." And for reasons Ethan couldn't explain, the walls he had built around his heart crumbled. Words poured out of him. He spoke of Daniel, how his wife had passed years ago, leaving Ethan to raise their son alone, and how guilt had driven him deeper into work. He told the stranger how every gift he bought, every vacation he planned, every private school he paid for only seemed to push his son further away. He admitted something he had never told anyone, that he was terrified of losing the only family he had left. The man listened without interrupting, only nodding now and then. When Ethan finally fell silent, drained of words, the stranger spoke softly. "You've been trying to fix your son with money. But children don't remember the price of toys, they remember the time their father sat beside them, laughed with them, listened to them. You've given him a mansion, but not a home." Ethan felt those words slice through him deeper than any corporate rival ever had. He realized the truth in them. For years he had been trying to buy love, to patch wounds with diamonds and gold, but all Daniel had ever wanted was something Ethan had stopped giving long ago: time, attention, presence. "Who are you?" Ethan asked quietly, still stunned by the man's clarity. The homeless man smiled faintly. "Once, I was a father too. I had a daughter. She used to call me her hero. But I lost myself chasing things that didn't matter, and I lost her along the way. Life taught me too late. But maybe I can help you before it's too late for you." The weight of his words settled over Ethan like a heavy cloak. This man, unseen and forgotten by society, carried wisdom money could never buy. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something stir in him, not fear, not guilt, but hope. They spoke for hours under the dim glow of the park lights. The billionaire and the homeless man, worlds apart in status but united in loss and longing. The stranger guided him with simple truths. To listen more than he spoke, to show up without trying to impress, to stop hiding behind gifts and instead give pieces of himself. Ethan didn't even realize how much time had passed until dawn began to paint the sky. As Ethan stood to leave, he reached into his wallet, pulling out several crisp bills. The homeless man shook his head. "Keep it. If you want to repay me, don't waste another day. Go to your son. Tell him the words you've been holding back. Show him the father he's been waiting for." Ethan's hand trembled as he slipped the money back. For a man who had always solved problems with wealth, this refusal was the most powerful lesson of all. He placed a hand on the stranger's shoulder instead. "Thank you," he whispered, the words carrying more sincerity than any business deal he'd ever signed. That morning, Ethan returned home not with solutions bought from his billions, but with guidance carried from a broken man who somehow had the strength to heal others. He realized then that sometimes, the ones society overlooks carry the very keys to saving lives. And though his story with Daniel was far from over, for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he had a starting point. The next evening, Ethan found Daniel sitting alone in the mansion's garden. For the first time, Ethan didn't bring gifts or excuses, he simply sat beside his son. "I've failed you," he admitted softly. "But I want to try again, if you'll let me." Daniel looked at him, surprised by the raw honesty. Silence stretched before his son's guarded eyes softened. "I don't need your money, Dad. I just need you." Ethan felt tears rise as he pulled Daniel into his arms, something he hadn't done in years. The billionaire finally understood that love wasn't bought, it was lived. And somewhere in a quiet park, a homeless man who had lost everything gave Ethan back the only treasure he truly needed, his family. So if this story touched you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more heart-changing stories that prove hope can come from the most unexpected places.